First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Moved by Brooke,
Second.
second by Brian. Any comment regarding today's agenda? Hearing none, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pass, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I said it at the same time.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Agenda's approved. We're moving on to public comment. The state board's agenda is full. I'll place a maximum of 30 minutes for public comment. I'll give each speaker 5 minutes or 3 minutes if there are a large number of speakers. At the end of your allotted time, I'll ask you to conclude, and the board will move on to the next speaker. The department will not respond to public comment aside from requesting clarification. The department may place a topic raised in public comment on a future agenda. Topic from public comment that is not to an item on today's agenda will not be addressed at today's meeting. Do we have anybody providing public comment today?
Good morning. If you'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen on Zoom. And if you're calling in, you can press *9 to raise your hand from your phone. Give it a minute and see if anyone raises their hand to speak. Again, if you're just joining us, just rolling in, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom if you would like to speak before the board. All right, no comments today.
All right, we will move on to the director's report.
Thank you, President Robbins and Vice President Axiotis. As always, thanks to each of you for your service on the board. To start off, I want to welcome our newest board member, Beth Townsend, who will be joining us later. She serves as the Director of Iowa Workforce Development. Senate File 2385, which went into effect on July 1, adds the Director of Iowa Workforce Development to the State Board of Education as a non-voting member and retains the student member as a non-voting member. Director Townsend has led Iowa Workforce Development since 2015 and previously served as the director of the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. She has also served in the United States Air Force and Air Force Reserve for over 20 years and retired as a lieutenant colonel. She's passionate about recruiting veterans to state of Iowa jobs, as are we. Please join me in welcoming Beth later on today. And then regarding the restoration of the Division of Special Education through House File 2612, the department has hired 2 new division administrators and 6 regional directors beginning July 1st. Following an extensive national search, Dr. Barbara Guy has been selected to serve as the Division Administrator of State Accountability and Student Supports, overseeing the division's centrally located team. And Dr. Angelisa Feinhart will serve as Acting Division Administrator of Regional Continuous Improvement and Compliance, overseeing the division's regionally based teams across all 9 Iowa education and AEA regions. With Amy Tom Starr for Central Rivers, Ivan Gentry for Green Hills, Lisa Glenn for Grant Wood, Molly Elston for Prairie Lakes, and Seth Puro for Northwest have also been selected to serve in senior leadership roles as regional special education directors. And collectively, these experts represent over 150 years of expertise in special education across Iowa and represent parents, families, advocates, paraeducators, special education teachers, principals, school district special education directors, AEA special education directors, and more. The division will provide technical assistance and support in student evaluation and placement, IEP development and implementation, complaints and dispute resolution, specially designed instruction, special education services and supports, and post-secondary transitions. The division will also implement accreditation and accountability, provide finance and data analysis, oversee evidence-based best practices and implementation plans, and support professional development opportunities and learning materials. We were also excited to officially welcome Chris Kafton as the Iowa School for the Deaf and Iowa Educational Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired Superintendent on July 1st. As you'll recall, Mr. Captain brings over 2 decades of experience as a director of student services, director of curriculum and instruction, principal, and teacher. And he and the teams at IES, VVI, and ISD are preparing to welcome staff back to the campus soon, and back to the office soon, with ISD's first day of school on Monday, August 26th. And as you know, following recent flooding in Northwest Iowa, Rock Valley and Spencer Community School Districts and Rock Valley Christian School sustained extensive damage to their school buildings, including lost curriculum and instructional materials, electronic learning devices, school buses and vans, CTE program equipment, and educational enrichment spaces and materials that range from playgrounds to gyms to libraries to dance. And since these disasters first occurred, the department has been working to support these resolute school leaders who are working tirelessly day in and day out to restore the learning environment and to return to rigorous instruction. We also continue to work closely with schools serving tornado impacted communities as they prepare to safely welcome students, families, and teachers back to school this fall. This work spans providing temporary learning spaces, helping meet new transportation needs, supporting new instructional materials, coordinating counseling supports, and more. And relatedly, the department also recently announced over $320,000 in emergency grant funds available to support Iowa school districts serving students experiencing homelessness as they respond to and recover from impacts of recent weather-related disasters. The emergency grants to serve students experiencing homelessness program will help remove barriers faced by students who are displaced or experiencing homelessness, including short-term housing, rotation to school, and basic needs like food, clothing, and wellness items. Districts eligible for the grant program must be located in a county that was included in the disaster emergency proclamation issued by Governor Reynolds between April 26th and June 28th, 2024. In addition, 25% or more of the school community must be impacted by the weather-related disaster outlined in one of the proclamations, and 10% or more of the school community must be displaced or facing homelessness due to the weather-related disaster. The grant opportunity just closed yesterday, and we will be issuing awards to impacted soon. I am also pleased to share that, informed by our conversations with superintendents and education leaders across the state, Governor Reynolds has directed the Iowa Department of Education to restore the Teach Iowa platform in partnership with leaders in the Iowa General Assembly. We will launch Teach Iowa this fall. It will provide key functionalities that education leaders need to post positions, recruit high-quality candidates, and track applicants, including employer access to a pool of potential candidates who have made their resumes and application information available. Employer and applicant access to a nationally accessible job board dedicated to teaching and school-related positions to support regional and national recruitment for Iowa education jobs, and applicant ability to search jobs based on proximity, location, endorsement and authorization area, grade levels, and more. And at this time, districts, charter schools, and AEAs choosing to use the optional Teach Iowa platform must also post open positions to Iowa Works per Iowa Code. And we are also excited to share that education program consultant Laura Racy, who I think many of you know, has returned from retirement to lead the successful restoration and launch of Teach Iowa with a focus and a continued focus on supporting end users. The department was also recently awarded over $276,000 from the U.S. Department of Education to expand FAFSA completion efforts during the summer months. The goal of the program is to increase the number of students who complete a 24-25 FAFSA and enroll in college, particularly for first-time students. Through the grant, the Bureau of Iowa College Aid increased the number of summer transition associates by 50%, with 21 new associates, including new bilingual associates, working in communities across the state. And then 79 Iowa teachers are now completing externships as a part of the 2024 Iowa STEM Teacher Externship Program. And teachers have the opportunity to connect their content expertise and what's taught in the classroom to real world applications of that knowledge and the exercise of job skills and knowledge needed for successful careers. And externship hosts have the opportunity to complete significant work in partnership with talented and industrious teachers. And since its launch in 2009, the Iowa Governor STEM Advisory Council has organized more than 800 teacher externship experiences throughout the state. And then on July 18th, we were in Cedar Rapids with the Iowa Reading Research Center and the department's incredible literacy team to kick off the first day of the Science of Reading Summit that had over 790 educators, double the participation of last year, more than double the participation of last year from across the state, attending this event to learn more about evidence-based literacy instruction and how literacy changes lives for students and early learners. And we are also preparing to launch a third cohort of Science of Reading Letters professional learning this month in August. And this cohort now also includes spots for early childhood educators, middle school special education teachers, and faculty at teacher preparation programs. And as you're aware, the state's invested over $9 million to support statewide access to letters professional learning to over 6,600 educators at no cost to the educators or the schools and institutions they serve. The department's literacy team has also provided professional learning on our newly adopted English language arts or ELA standards to more than 1,200 educators across Iowa, with 4 additional opportunities forthcoming this month. And then following the new mathematics standards and the literacy standards, whose implementation we're supporting now, this fall we'll begin work on updating Iowa's science standards with a thorough review by a team of teachers, administrators, content specialists, higher education, families, industry, and community partners, very similar to the process followed for math and ELA. And then regarding recent public engagement on Tuesday, we joined the department's Bureau of Nutrition and Health Services and Iowa State University's Extension and Outreach to kick off the School Nutrition Back to School Conference in Ames. Nearly 150 expert school nutrition colleagues across all corners of the state came together to share and to learn the latest in child nutrition programs. And this important work, of course, helps ensure students have access to healthy school meals that support their well-being and their readiness to learn, including through improved concentration and alertness, reduced absenteeism and tardiness, reduced behavior issues, and increased student achievement. And then last month, we joined board member Cindy Dietz at the incredible Collins Aerospace STEM Day, hosted by Southwest STEM Hub and Collins Aerospace. More than 60 community partners provided games, projects, and other interactive activities that highlight a vast array of career opportunities in STEM fields. We also met last month with the new superintendents at the SAI New Superintendents Institute. 17 of the 20 new superintendents were able to attend, where we shared department priority initiatives, and helpful resources on how the department will support them as they take on their new leadership roles. And the School Administrators of Iowa Conference is next week at the Iowa Events Center. Department team members will be there throughout the conference and will be leading a session to share our proposed accountability system updates and updates on our standards work and high quality instructional materials in particular. And then also next week on August 7th is the 2nd annual National Civics Bee Iowa State Finals that will be held at the World Food Prize Hall of Laureates. Organized by the Iowa Chamber Alliance, the competition aims to inspire middle schoolers to, quote, become better informed, to engage respectfully and constructively in the community, and to build greater trust in others and institutions. And the winner of the state finals will receive a trip to Washington DC to compete in the inaugural National Civics Bee Championship in the fall of 2024. And then finally, want to provide a brief update on the task force of experts we've convened to inform our work to address chronic absenteeism by removing barriers to school attendance and engaging students, families, educators, and community partners. The task force is meeting throughout July, August, and September, with subsequent meetings focused on supporting family engagement and removing barriers to school attendance, including health, safety, housing security, and other basic needs and transportation. Also focused on building school capacity, positive school climate, and student assistant teams to include attendance specialists, at-risk coordinators, counselors, school nurses, school resource officers, and school social workers, and leveraging community partnerships and structures, including county attorneys, municipalities, and regional mental health centers. And that concludes my update. I'm happy to provide any more context or information or answer any questions you may have.
Just a comment, I was happy to hear that Teach Iowa is coming back. It was a valuable platform for posting vacancies and got a little confusing in the interim. I like the approach with the chronic absenteeism that's so multi-layered and multi-strategy. It's very good.
On the chronic absenteeism, is there a timeline, and B, is there an expected report result that we would see?
Absolutely. So it's a targeted task force that will conclude in September. That's informing both questions and answers to the field, but then also evidence-based best practices that these experts and school leaders have deployed in their school communities that we want to support other school communities in replicating.
And those communities that you're talking about are in Iowa now with successful. Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Is this a nationwide problem, chronic absenteeism?
Absolutely. So we have seen national increases in chronic absenteeism. We have reduced our chronic absenteeism rate from the 22-23 school year and are certainly trending in the right direction, but have significant work together ahead of us to continue to reduce chronic absenteeism back to pre-pandemic levels.
I'm also happy to hear the attendance regarding the science of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been providing those services all summer long, and that's outstanding. I'm sure it's being well received. Great report. Thank you.
For the special education, were those, said that there were, so sounds like they're full up on staff right now. So, were any of those hires from AEAs, or were they just, I mean, like how were the searches conducted and just like who was hired, I guess?
All of the new team members have served in AEAs in various capacities. As regional, as AEA special education directors, as regional administrators, as school district special education directors, as school district special education teachers, school psychologists throughout their careers, and encourage you to dig into each of their bios. It's incredibly impressive, the expertise this team brings to the state of Iowa.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the director? Hearing none, excuse me, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Just one item today is the meeting minutes from June 20.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Brian, seconded by Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the minutes from the June 20th meeting indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. All right. Northeast Iowa Community College interim accreditation report.
If you'd like.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. My name is Amy Giske, Chief in the Bureau of Community Colleges and Post-Secondary Readiness. And today I have for you an interim accreditation report from Northeast Iowa Community College. In front of you is the full report, outlining details from the desk review and the site visit. I'll give a brief overview of that report today and then hand things over to our guests. So with me today are NICC President Dave Doms, also NICC Vice President of Academic Affairs, Kathy Nakos-Birds. Appreciate you both being here today. After my presentation, they will both share a bit about the college. First, a bit about NICC. This map shows the region served by the college, those counties in the most northeast corner of the state. When looking at our most recent community college profile data, we see that when compared to the other 14 community colleges in the state, NICC ranks first in joint enrollment, second in non-credit enrollment, sixth in distance learning, ninth in non-credit. And when looking at student success outcomes, NICC ranked fifth in graduation rate and sixth in success rate, which combines graduation and transfer. Our accreditation reviews include a look at the college's most recent Higher Learning Commission visit, as well as a review of 8 specific state standards. Starting first with Higher Learning Commission compliance, NICC does have continued HLC accreditation with no issues, concerns, or findings pending. Their next comprehensive evaluation is scheduled for 26-27. Turning to state standards, starting first with faculty qualifications. During each accreditation visit, our team reviews a random selection of faculty files for faculty qualification, faculty load, and QFP, Quality Faculty Plan compliance. The team identified recommendations in this area related to developing an institutional definition of recent and relevant work experience, and reviewing the faculty qualification forms used across campus to ensure consistency. We did have a finding in this area. The team found that some faculty files were missing required documentation, and other files did not consistently document relevant and recent work experience and specialized training needed for qualifications. The department team will conduct another random selection of faculty files for review in 6 months, and we will review the college's process for qualifying faculty to confirm consistent and thorough procedures are in place. There were no findings in the area of faculty load. Faculty were found to be teaching within state load limits. Our recommendation in this area is that the college formalize its mutual consent process for faculty when accepting overload assignments, and we will follow up with this in 6 months to ensure that a process has been established. Standard 3 relates to special needs and protected classes, and there were no findings in this area. NICC staff and faculty take a great deal of pride in serving all students at their college. The team identified a number of strengths in this area. The college has a care team that makes weekly calls to students identified as needing services. They also have mini grants and a crisis fund available for students needing financial assistance, both excellent practices. I'd like to commend the college for making significant improvements in its non-discrimination statement since our prior visit. Our recommendations reflect only small adjustments needed to both the annual and continuous non-discrimination statement. Moving to Standard 4, Career and Technical Education Program Review and Evaluation. This is an area of strength for the college, and there were no findings in this area. Strengths include the fact that their assessment components, such as program goals and job placement, are well integrated into program review. They also have advisory committee meeting minutes that show robust conversations are occurring, resulting in meaningful programmatic change at the CTE program level. Our review team recommendations included connecting the college's annual key performance indicator report. They have a report called an AKPIR report with their action steps with program review, and formally linking their program review action steps to the institutional strategic plan and their budgeting process. Moving to Standard 5, Strategic Planning, there were no findings in this area either. NICC has a 2023-2025 plan in place, and the college is actually about to embark on a new strategic planning process this coming fall. Strengths of their current plan include that it tracks strategic priorities, goals, and key performance indicators. Also, the college is being more intentional about which KPIs to measure and to report broadly to the community so that staff are not inundated with excess data, but are getting the most important performance indicators in front of the entire community. They also have a new strategic plan website that is a positive step toward greater communication across campus. Recommendations here include expanding the number of internal and external constituents consulted during strategic planning process and formalizing the development of unit level plans that connect to the institutional plan so that all faculty and staff can see how their work connects. There were no areas in the area of physical plant and facilities, which is our 6th standard. This is actually an area of strength for the college. They have a very comprehensive master facilities plan, as well as a detailed safety and security plan. Other examples of good practice in the area of safety include cameras across campus and the ability to lock doors remotely. When looking at technology best practices, students have Wi-Fi access in parking lots, and the college makes aging out computers available to students based on need. Recommendations include, as was the case with strategic planning, developing additional ways for staff and students to engage in facilities and technology planning. Standard 6 is quality faculty plan, and there were no findings in this area. NICC's quality faculty plan includes an extensive intentional faculty onboarding process, a formal mentoring program where faculty are assigned to a new faculty mentor. And faculty also have access to a Department of Innovation and Design team composed of a team of instructional designers. QFP recommendations include formalizing a process where faculty discuss their QFP goals with their supervisor during individual review meetings and aligning their instructional competencies with their institutional strategic plan. Finally, Standard 8 is the review of the college's Senior Year Plus program. There were no findings in this area. NICC has a strong concurrent enrollment program in place, serving 21 school districts and over 3,000 high school students per year. Many strengths of their Senior Year Plus program were noted during the review. They have a robust concurrent enrollment faculty onboarding process with multiple orientations. College staff have strong relationships with school district leadership and staff. And they have college and career coaches that work directly with high school students in determining their post-secondary goals and plans. Our recommendations on this standard include clarifying that the student's signature releasing their educational information to parents is requested but not required per FERPA rules, and developing a parent handbook to clarify policies regarding sharing of educational records. And then also clarifying in documentation provided to students and instructors that textbooks students should not be required to pay for textbooks. Overall, we had a really excellent visit at NICC. A few themes emerged to reviewers. First, it was apparent that NICC staff and faculty are committed to continuous improvement and to the needs of their students. They pride themselves on a culture of innovation that is forward-thinking about meeting the needs of community and business. And college leadership are proactively working toward a culture of transparency, communication, trust building, and assessment. The department review team recommends continued accreditation for NICC through the next state comprehensive visit scheduled for academic year 2028-2029. And before moving to questions and that vote, I'll turn things over to my colleagues from NICC to share more about the institution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing Dr. Birds and myself a few minutes with you this morning. Appreciate that. I'd like to talk about just a few things we're building for the future, and Dr. Birds will elaborate on more advancements that we've made in the district here in the last several years. To begin with, we've been under a $39 million bond referendum since 2019, which has gone a long ways in enhancing our classrooms and our labs and our technology and security to meet the future of educational needs. We're wrapping up that bond with our IT building and our Piasta campus. And in that, the building was built back in a bond referendum back in 2010. And right now we're remodeling that using ACE funds plus our bond money to establish a CBE, advanced manufacturing, industrial technology, robotics, automation, engineering, and technology lab. So it'll be state of the art. And it really will enhance educational needs of our students to be able to flow through their program needs. Secondly, we were able to receive Iowa grant funding, CDR, commercial driver's license, CDL training. So that will enhance or double our programming here in the next 5 years and our commitment to moving that program forward. We feel that's a great success for us. And the funds for that went to purchasing a tractor trailer, putting up a new facility to house the equipment, and some remodeling within our property for the training itself. It's a competency-based program, so typically it's a 4-month or 4-week program, but drivers can work their way through that based upon their skill level at earlier time. And finally, yesterday, we had a Board of Trustee retreat offsite, and it was our conversation and our kickoff for our 3-year strategic plan process. Our 2025 is the last year of the current plan. This new 3-year plan will help build out another 3 years in our education. It's a robust plan. It will include complete review of our mission, vision, values, goals. It will include KPIs, metrics by department, and it will tie to our budget process. The broad stakeholder base from internal and external in the college, and in essence, it will help guide our new priorities for education and work-based learning activities and programming. So we'll start in August, and our intent is to have this completed by May of next year as we roll into the 2026 academic year. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Birds.
Thank you. Just to highlight a couple academic models that we're moving toward or in the process of, we were fortunate enough to get a Title III Strengthening Institutions grant, $1.6 million in 2019. And the two main initiatives of that grant was, the first part was to get a customer relationship management system. So we actually are working with our grade school and high school to track students and experiences for guided pathways, to get them in the right seat, to get them connected to the right experiences, to put them on guided pathways, to either have them come to NICC or go to the region or go to the workforce. There's just been a lot of great work-based learning in the high schools. We want to capture that. And when they come back to us, we want to be sure that we don't have to reinvent the wheel to do the intake and say, well, what did you have? Having said that, with our robust high school concurrent model, since 2009, we've had 119 high school students graduate with an AA or an AS at the same time they're graduating from high school. And that is the testament to the plethora of classes that we have available for them, our career coaches. And of course, we want people to access more opportunities. Another piece of that grant was competency-based education. So within the second year of the grant, we came out with a diploma in welding, a certificate in welding, and also a 2-year business competency-based education program. We know that education, competency-based, especially in career technical education, is essential for students and learners to come in, be awarded credit for what they have, and move faster through the model. We're now working on looking at the CNC, industrial maintenance, and also engineering technology with the new lab. So students could come and engage with the college and get the competencies that they need to move on and not be in a seat time model that they have to sit and repeat coursework. Again, that gets into learner educational records. How do you take someone who's had non-credit or non-credit experiences, and how do you capture those for a credit diploma or a degree? So we are sending a team, our 3rd year, to Kale to continue that work. We do have robust credit for prior learning awards, but they're very heavy in portfolios. A lot of work has to go in on the part of the students. So how can we do that more efficiency? We did bring in someone 3 years ago that was a veteran, and we looked at the Kaplan model, and we were successful in looking at the POS of the Army. And we have 4 degrees right now where we award 12 to 18 credits based on their rank and their POS certification from the Army for those CTE fields. Again, it's wonderful, but we got to get more transparency to get more students participating in these pipelines. The other thing I want to just highlight is the model. Earn and Learn is really our focus in the college. We have excellent earn and learn opportunities. 2 programs I'd like to highlight is the John Deere Technology Program. We were selected as one of 13 North America sites years ago. And they actually partner with us, and their advisory board is about 30 people. We use the John Deere curriculum. They have 3 internships built in. Our faculty have to be internship certified. They go to training every summer. And we work in partnership. And as a result, the students in that program actually have to be supported by a dealer before they come in. So they already know where they're going home. They already have the job. And they're watching them and they're working through the internships to prepare them to come back to them. There is a 98% success rate, placement rate there. And of course, that's the ideal program where you're all at the table committed. 2 years ago, we were approached by Zurich, one of their ag insurance carrier departments, wanted a 2-year degree. They selected NICC because of our ag background. And they're paying their insurance adjusters during their work time to go to synchronous learning with us online. And they're all around the country. The first cohort group was 13 students. 9 came to campus to walk last May. 1 came from California, 1 was in Ohio. Just great success. And now we're entering the second cohort group. These are the kind of partnerships working with the business and modifying curriculum and helping the students be more seamless. We do portfolios for Zurich and we're having a meeting. How can we do it different? So again, our goal is to have students joining each other. We do have credit and non-credit using the same classroom. CNA, you can get a credit degree there. You could get a credit certificate or non-credit. But we're also looking at the word non. Nobody wants to be non. So how do we look at this model differently and become even more efficient and more seamless and get them to the next step, whatever that's going to be? So the workforce, they'll end up back with us maybe to pursue later. They might go on with the transfer majors. We have the 19 transfer majors. We have a lot of articulations with private and non-privates. And again, it's all about meeting the learner and the learner's success. So with that, there's always a lot of great work to be done. With that, though, we are going to leave you with some information. We're going to leave you with a few pieces that are key to the college. One of those pieces is testimonials of our students that we've served, because really it's about the students. And that's what keeps us going, hearing those great stories. We have a career pathway guidebook in there. We have a map of the college, our strategic plan, a few pieces that if you'd like to peruse at your leisure, we'll leave those with Amy for you. But appreciate this time to be able to share the work we do and how meaningful it is to be part of the community college system.
Thank you. Board members have any questions or comments for Amy or the East Iowa Community College representatives?
I was going to ask you about your articulation agreement, so thank you for including that. How many students go on to four-year institutions?
Well, the ones that have the 2-year degree definitely do.
Okay.
And we track them according to the 3 Regent universities. We probably have about 215 a year to the 3 schools. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to the privates. We have a lot of privates in the area that they go on to.
Okay. Thank you.
In the strategic planning process you're now undertaking, are some of the constituents members of the business community or school districts in that process?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you include those same groups in your master facility planning process, or is that more internal to your staff?
Originally, the master facility planning process did include external committees and needs assessment. These new committees will be made up of, could be similar individuals, but they'll be individuals picked by either internally through our college senate, our faculty, other employees, as well as reaching out to our NICC foundation, that board, and reaching out to the community members that they think would be good committee members. So we're really looking for a broad, diverse group of talent that can help us.
Are any of the workforce development things happening in our part of the state or the whole state with Deere? Are those affecting your enrollment for Earn and Learn?
Well, we do have partnerships with many of our businesses, and the John Deere, I know that IWD is involved with that. Many of those are older adults, and we're on the front line there in partnership. I also know that we have 8 apprenticeships, and we're the placeholder for 2 that we have in the college programs. So the answer would be yes, we're very closely connected. We have a vice president in that area. The 3 vice presidents meet every week to talk about the sectors of the college, the student services, academic, and the business community solutions. We're intentionally moving together, not siloed. So, and we're very creative about what we can do for each student.
Well, it's a strong company. We're all hoping it's a short term.
Yes.
Anything with robotics?
Robotics, yes. We do that in the dairy, and we also are integrating it with the advanced manufacturing.
And anything in AI?
We want to speak to AI?
It's a great topic for all of us, right? We have starting the end of last year and into this year, taking a formal approach to how we look at AI and how we integrate that within our faculty and administration. Where does that come into proper usage, and how does the college guide usage of it? And making the best out of it, but making sure that it's done appropriately. So yes, we are moving in that direction, and it will be one of the higher level looking at internally this year, how we approach that into the fall term.
Lots of opportunities and lots of challenges.
Yes.
Regarding learning employment records, what have been some of the benefits you've seen to students in leveraging learning employment records? And what have been some of the barriers to implementation of learning employment records?
I think right now, using Zurich as an example, until you get a group of records that you've spent time critiquing and understanding what competencies they fulfill, it's time consuming. Once you understand the pattern, then you can capture that and say, if you're coming in with ABC experience, it equals D. And schools are challenged to make sure that you don't assign credit just arbitrarily. So the veterans took us 3 years. We've been working 2 years with Zurich, and instead of having to everyone portfolio the same experiences, you want to be able to say, okay, we know if you have these experiences in working with the company, it will meet these criteria. That's time consuming. That just takes time. Veterans, the Army actually has a new program that we've adopted where once you put in a record, it captures it. And then the next record, if it comes in, it's the same. It will spit out the same, give this credit. That's great with a system where it's very equal. But when people are all coming back to the community college with different experiences, you have to you have to be quick at your competencies. And you have to understand how to measure those. And many times it's showing me. And that's very time consuming. People will go to the least path of resistance. So that's why we're involved with Kale. And we're very interested in how to do that. And I know in conversations with Amy, we talked about looking at the CAO level to have those conversations. How can we move as a community college system to have maybe some guidelines and parameters there? So people are feeling good about the quality and then the transferability. If I bring in a record and it comes in as transfer credit, that doesn't mean a 4-year school is going to honor that. So you don't want somebody to start and then not have it honored. But I think there's some framework that needs to occur at a higher level.
Can you talk about some of the benefits you're seeing for students as well?
I think working with students one-on-one and capturing where they're at is a great benefit. No one wants to they don't want to be a number. They don't want to sit through things they don't need. The students in competency-based are loving it. They're wanting to move fast. And competency-based doesn't allow you to get through with a D or a C or D. You need to get an A or a B. They're stronger students. They're self-motivated. So that, people want you to understand them as a person. And I think that the customer relationship management system is going to be really key to that too. Again, the quality is only as good as what's put into it through the whole pipeline. So.
Do you use student surveys to inform your instruction? Is it relevant? Is the class challenging? And do they also, give them the opportunity to instructor?
We use the IDEA survey,
Okay,
which is it is a reflection not on the instructor, it's a reflection on the quality of the educational experience.
okay.
It's confidential. Every class, it's mandatory to offer that. And actually, we ask our faculty to offer that, they do it on their phone. And then the survey results will come to 3 different levels. I will get a higher level, but the dean will get a level, but more importantly, the instructor gets a level. And they also get attachments to how to improve their teaching. And that is used in the evaluatory process, not as a criterion for evaluation, but for self-growth.
Yes. I'm done. I really am done.
Well, question for Amy. Typically, I think we usually find findings in faculty qualifications. Is that pretty much standard procedure where that's?
This year we have, I think all 3 visits had findings and faculty qualifications. Previous years has not been the case. There are often maybe special needs with the non-discrimination statement. Here we have. So, and it's just an opportunity to clean up. It's mostly documentation related, getting, because once we dug in, the faculty were qualified. They just weren't always documenting the required recent relevant experience. So, but yes, this year, all 3 visits did have them, but that's, I would say, a little abnormal.
Just a comment, I do appreciate the recommendations, even though there's no findings.
Okay.
Everybody can.
No, yeah.
And then a question for for our representatives here. With the Higher Learning Commission, do you have accreditation through them and also through the DE? Do those complement each other, or do they fight with each other, or how does that mesh?
I would, we can both answer that, but I'd say there's complementary, very much so. I think that, lean on what we learn from our accreditation here with the Department of Education, and that certainly helps us as we work with Higher Learning Commission.
I agree with that. This visit falls nicely before the HLC. And the higher learning accreditation, it can get very nebulous and very broad. The one that is the outlier is the NACEP. We all are NACEP accredited too for the concurrent. And that one is very, very time consuming. And that 3rd layer is, as we're preparing for NACEP in a year, has come into question because we're seeing a little bit of differences between NACEP and some of the other 2. And we're bringing that to everyone's attention. So we really have the 3. And it's the NACEP one that's probably the layer that it doesn't make sense. I think the collegiality and working with the Department of Ed to meet code and understanding it is really helpful to get ready for the bigger picture. And in the past, with HLC, when there's been some guidelines that might have been looked at differently, the Department of Ed has been a great advocate because they understood what we're doing in Iowa. And as HLC has expanded to many states in the nation, many times reviewers come and what we do is unique. The last reviewers that came for us on site in 2016 did not appreciate concurrent. They raised questions. And the Department of Ed helped us respond to some of those things.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we accept the recommendation and grant continued accreditation to NIC.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Brian, second by Brooke, to accept the recommendation for accreditation. Any further comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, you're on to Upper Iowa. We will be taking a short break after.
Here we go.
Sorry. Always get that chair. Okay. My name is Dr. Stephanie Teakip. I'm a program consultant with the educator preparation team, along with my colleague, Dr. Miriam Rod-Zabo. Mr. Alex Hansen and Dr. Billy Cowley are joining us today as leadership of the education unit and representing Upper Iowa University. One of my responsibilities is the state approval process for reaffirmation of accreditation. Today, I'll be sharing key highlights of Upper Iowa's review, followed by Alex and Billy, who will discuss unique elements of their program. In the full report, all information is available for your review. Educator preparation has a 7-year accreditation cycle. I, along with my colleagues, engaged in a program review to verify and validate Upper Iowa's compliance with Chapter 79 teacher preparation and professional school counseling standards, and provide recommendations for continuous improvement. A broad overview of Upper Iowa's evaluation includes a total of 18 experts engaged in the process. 102 survey responses were analyzed from 7 stakeholder groups. 240 pages of content, over 1,000 links of evidence, and 170 course syllabi were reviewed. During the on-site portion, 29 interviews and 6 classroom visits were conducted, and approximately 20 student files were audited for adherence to program checkpoints and required documentation. Like always, our team will continue monitoring through the follow-up visit in a year and through Upper Iowa's submissions to the annual report. When evaluating educator programs, there are 2 major categories, which include assurance and continuous improvement components. Within the assurance components, Upper Iowa University is in compliance with the Higher Learning Commission. Curriculum exhibits are approved by the educator preparation team and board of educational examiners, and the 11 identified concerns from the review have been resolved, resulting in compliance with Chapter 79. For continuous improvement, 16 recommendations were shared with the program that were recognized or acted upon. Last but not least, Upper Iowa received 8 strengths to feature where the program is going above and beyond the requirements. Today, I'll be sharing key highlights of the governance, faculty, and assessment standards, which have the majority of recommendations and concerns. In the governance standard, the program received praise for their steadfast application of the conceptual framework. Another strength to highlight is throughout interviews, stakeholders continuously referred to the administration, faculty, and staff as respected and committed to student success in the program. I can attest to this as Mr. Hansen and I worked closely together for approximately 8 months after the on-site review to ensure systematic and sustainable compliance with standards. A recommendation for continuous improvement included the development of a clearly articulated process to onboard part-time faculty for technical and curricular support. 3 resolved concerns were identified in the areas of resources and candidate engagement with classroom technology. In response, the program engaged in a successful workload optimization process for their faculty. They hired additional faculty
in addition to strategically monitoring and integrating instructional technology preparation. I would like to take a moment and celebrate some of Upper Iowa's additional faculty hires, which includes an expert in special education and literacy. The literacy faculty has experience and knowledge of the science of reading through previous letters training. In the faculty standard, the team found that faculty collaborate extensively with colleagues in the K-12 schools and often engage in more than the required 40 hours of co-teaching. A recommendation for the faculty standard included aligning professional growth activities with the unit needs. A concern in the faculty standard was resolved by defining and communicating additional faculty administrative roles and requirements that go beyond teaching expectations. Within the assessment standard, 2 recommendations were made regarding continuation of work on the program outcome matrix and that the unit engage in a review of the final capstone project for candidate consistency and support. 2 resolved concerns included the professional school counseling data aggregation and collection, as well as using consistent language for program and in-task standards across learner experiences and assessments. The review team recommends full approval based on the evidence for Upper Iowa's educator preparation programs until the next site visit. Before we move to questions, I'll hand things over to Alex and Billy to share their talking points.
All right. Well, thank you for this time. I do want to start by giving a little bit of background. This was my first year as education department chair. So it was an exciting experience for me. Exciting, scary, a little bit of everything. But we also had a fairly new team and we were going through a lot of transitions. So it really, as much as we were nervous about it at first, it really galvanized us as a group. And it really had us focused on continuous improvement and the things we can do to strengthen us as a whole unit. So some of the things that surfaced through this, we were able to, a little bit about our program. We are a small program, but we have 4 locations. And one of our biggest goals was, what can we change? What can we focus on and change that has the biggest improvement? Not a whole bunch of little changes, but what can we really dive into? And we knew based on the results that we needed to come together as a unit, efficiently as a unit. We did a lot of collaboration, but we were still felt kind of departmentalized in silos because of our locations and the distance between. But a lot of great work went into this. And to launch it, just kind of highlighting and skimming the surface, we were able to, as we went into this year, peeling back those layers, focus on when we do get an opportunity to hire back these faculty that you alluded to, how specific can we be? How focused can we be? What are our real needs? What does our program need? So we took a dive into that. And as a result, we were able to, as she highlighted, add back 3 strong faculty members in areas that we had a high need in. That's special needs, early childhood, literacy that you alluded to, and even the area of science. And not just the content, but also the levels, both elementary and secondary, were able to strengthen our team. Another big piece was we were able to bring on a part-time clinical coordinator that was able to help us with that task of getting students in the right place for their clinical experiences, which helped free up capacity for our faculty members to truly roll up their sleeves and do the work that needs to be done. So those were some celebrations we had. And we also took a time to really focus on optimizing our workloads, not just as faculty, but as our adjuncts. Our adjuncts, as we were going through this time of transition, played a key role. They really helped offset, while we were shorthanded, our full-time faculty workloads as we were able to figure some things out. Great adjuncts, but we also had close to 45 adjuncts at the time to support our program, which made collaboration at times and things like that tricky, as you dig through the report. But as we brought on these new faculty members, as we realized what we could capitalize on, one of the big areas was moving away from more of the traditional classroom at our centers and taking advantage of the hybrid learning opportunities. And by doing that, this is where we were able to capitalize on a lot of different pieces. One of the things is collaboration became a lot stronger with hybrid, not just with our faculty and staff, but with our students as well. Now, it wasn't just Des Moines students or Quad City students, it's Upper Iowa students. It truly is one unit now. And the other thing that did for our faculty is prior to this change, we might have the same faculty member in Des Moines teaching a class at the same time. That same class is being taught in Quad Cities at the same time. So when you're looking at faculty workload, we realized there was an opportunity to become more efficient with that. And as we switched to hybrid, which was our Zoom learning modality, we were able to, now we can take that full-time faculty who has a specialty area in Des Moines and they can access all of our locations and all of our students. But what that also did as a byproduct is it reduced the load of some of our other full-time faculty. It also allowed our faculty at the time before these changes took place, we were teaching classes that we were certified to teach, but we also weren't able to really zero in on our expertise. And now we're able to do that with this hybrid model. And we also were able to evaluate the adjuncts we had working with us and take a deeper dive into where did their true specialty areas really lie, how we can capitalize on putting our full-time faculty in front of them. We were able to, because the hybrid model, we were able to reduce our preps. We were able to reduce we had a lot of adjuncts teaching a lot of different classes. We were able to zero in on what they were teaching. And now we have, with the hiring of our full-time faculty, we now have faculty leads in each of those content areas. We were able to all jump in, evaluate course evaluations and those pieces with our adjuncts and determine which adjuncts the best fit in different areas, which has now formed strong collaborative teams in those content-specific areas that meet at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year for continuous improvement, not just for improvement in the content, instructional delivery, and continuous growth within those different domains. This has led to a higher level of sustainability. You can see the mood shift in our faculty and staff. They're able to have collaborative teams in the areas they feel they are strong. And we are much more efficient with our product that we deliver. And just that opportunity to reach all students at all centers. All faculty now have that opportunity, and that creates a much richer environment. But also it is, like I alluded to earlier, it is given us more capacity to tackle the things that we truly want to tackle and focus on that continuous improvement piece. So the workload distribution was huge. Also, the other area that jumped out is just the professional learning and development of our faculty. And now we have a stronger opportunity to do that through our collaboration. We have created more time for collaboration. We started Faculty Academy this summer. We launched that. It was a 2-day opportunity for our faculty to get together from all of our locations and truly dig in and unpack what our program needs, what our next steps are, and how to get there. So we spent a lot of time doing that. So, when we wrote our responses, it all looked good on paper, but the cool thing was we now actually have processes in place. So with our team and being a small unit, we were able to put those action steps in place, and we've already started on that journey of improvement. Our assessment, one of the findings there was just our alignment and the interviews they did, our students and staff, just being able to talk the alignment between our program standards, Iowa teaching standards, the INTAS standards. That was one area where we realized very clearly that we needed to tighten up. And we were able to address that just by those visuals being more relevant, are available in classrooms and hallways, within our course syllabi, part of assignments in our field and clinical classes. So engagement and interaction with those standard alignment pieces are much stronger now. I don't know how I'm doing on time. Usually I'm very long-winded, but I'm trying
You're
to
doing great. You're
get
doing
to these
great.
things. I want to celebrate some of the things we're also doing to grow Upper Iowa as part of this hybrid transition. It's really excited our non-traditional students at our 3 of our locations in Quad City, Des Moines, and Waterloo, especially now that we're working with a lot of our paraeducators, and they're able to focus on their job, but also access their degree in a way that's more conducive to the world they're trying to navigate, work a full-time job, raise a family, all these pieces. And the other nice thing is our course availability. By doing hybrid, we're able to offer courses multiple times during the year because we have strong faculty members throughout our centers that can facilitate these classes. We've been doing a lot with high school recruitment. We've been in the Des Moines area, the Waterloo area, and we're really trying to capitalize on showing them the different pathways that they can take to get their degree. The traditional pathway, the non-traditional pathway, or even a combination of both. But we really sell our flexibility, and it's really catching fire with our non-traditional learners. And we've even found it catching fire with our traditional students who come to campus, are taking the traditional path, but if that life isn't working out for them and they have to go back home, they have the secondary pathway they can take, this non-traditional pathway. So our program as a whole is sitting really well in that regard. Our para recruitment has been aggressive. Again, our modalities of learning, the way our program's set up makes it really conducive for these individuals. And it's a huge selling point when we get in schools to talk about, and our schools have been phenomenal at opening the doors to get us in. They want to fill teacher vacancies. And then that capitalizes on the work we're doing with the high school students, because as we help them with their teacher vacancies, we get the high school students excited about accepting para positions and following that pathway into becoming a teacher. So just that continuous growth for our school systems, we're really able to partner with them and help them. So we have strong collaboration with our school systems. And then to sum it up, if I have time, we are just really focused on continuous improvement in all aspects of our program. Again, that culture and climate, our program standards and expectations, and just the overall product that we put out for both our traditional and non-traditional students. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
The only thing that I have to add, Alex did a wonderful job talking about teacher education. I'm very proud of our team for everything that they've done through this process. For school counseling specifically, we were just approved for school counseling in March of 2021. So it is newer. Our first school counseling graduates, we had the mental health strand. So some of those who were mental health decided they wanted to be school counselors. So they moved tracks at that time when we were approved. So our first graduates were in fall of 2022. So as far as the data aggregation, we are continually working on that. And as we get more data with our graduates, we'll be able to make, I guess, more instructional decisions, program decisions on what to do to improve there. They have moved back from an exam that they had that aligns with all the different KCREP standards. We are not KCREP accredited, but we are KCREP aligned. And so everything that we do would easily fall into that. So we're working out and trying to get to a good number of students. So we have the faculty that align with that. And that's the major thing with KCREP, that we need more faculty to align. So we're still growing in school counseling. And once we get to that point, then the BPASA and the president has given us the green light to go through KCREP when that time comes. So that was a little bit about
Great.
school counseling.
Great. Thank you both. Do you have any questions?
Comments and questions for the group?
I do. Just two. I like your para pathway to teaching. A lot of school districts talk about growing your own, because where are we finding these people to go into that teaching field? So I commend you on that. And then I'm just about your trends over pre and COVID.
You want to start
I
this?
can answer
Okay.
that. I would say that, obviously we were hit, hard, with COVID. We're about 500 right now. I would say prior to COVID, we were 750, maybe 700, ish. But we're seeing, part of that is that cliff of 2025 that they were talking about, that naturally students weren't going to, or second guess if they were going to go to college, take a gap year, all of that. So our enrollment is slowly, increasing. Right now, the numbers look good for the fall, but we have some external partners that are helping just the university in general. But the educator and the TPRA grant, we were one of the partners with that. With Des Moines Public Schools, we had the Johnston Consortium with West Des Moines, and then also Davenport partnered with us too. So we were able to get in and then really work with those individuals in this school district. Theron Hobbs and Des Moines Public, he was great. And then he's like, oh, you have school counseling too? What can we do to get school counseling? So it's really opened up other doors as a unique partnership with the university and K-12 schools to see what we can do to help them. We even added, we partnered with DMAC to get family consumer science. And we're just in our first year in that, but they asked if that was something that we could do. And so we're working with them. NICC, we offer industrial technology with them and ag education. So looking at those community colleges and the CTEs they offer that we don't offer at Upper Iowa, but what can we do as a partnership to meet that need? So we've done that with the community colleges around our center locations.
Under the faculty standard earlier on in the report, there's a resolved concern about defining and communicating non-teaching roles and responsibilities. Maybe it's just me, but can you tell me what that means?
Alex is an example of that. He has a teaching load, but he also has release time to be chair. So some of our faculty have that administrative role too.
Oh, okay.
With their
All right.
teaching.
Like a committee or something, or outside of the actual teaching process.
Yeah, so all faculty have a 24 credit load, but then chairs can choose if they want to take a stipend to be chair or if they take release time. And since it was Alex's first year, we just had a lot of change over the past few years. So that was one of the things that just needed to work itself out as we were mentoring Alex in this role and clearly defining me stepping away from it.
And some other examples of that would include an assessment coordinator or a field placement coordinator or department chair. It's a leadership role, but it's outside of teaching.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alex, Billy, approximately how many students are in your program at any given time?
That's a great question. Well, I know to break down the numbers specifically, I don't want to mislead, but I know we have 90 students right now that are going to be student teaching this year. So I would say anywhere between 250 and 350 students. And right now we're facing some challenges, but they're good challenges. I have the opportunity to work with the scheduling. And, you look at the past few years and what courses need to be offered when based on past enrollment numbers. And I can tell you, we've had conversations the past few weeks about we need to add a section of this class and this class. We're up to 6 different courses just in the fall that we need to add a second section because of our enrollment numbers increasing. So, and I feel with our remote locations, our center locations for our non-traditional students, we're not always enrolling at the traditional timeframes of the year. Instead, we're enrolling every 8 weeks, so that number continues to steadily increase.
And about approximately how many FTE faculty do you have?
Well.
Just in teacher ed?
We have, just in teacher ed, we're sitting at 14 members between faculty and staff. And this was,
Are those FTEs or?
No.
I'm sorry.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 full-time faculty just in teacher ed. And then in the Master of Counseling, we have 4. And their support staff to support each program. In the Master of Ed, we have the chair, but a lot of our full-time faculty members in undergraduate teacher ed will teach graduate as well. They teach both. So we have admissions individuals specific for that. And we also have professional advisors to help support with that, the clerical stuff and operational things.
Okay, and so the question was for full-time equivalent, so you have 14 people on staff, but then you also have a lot of adjuncts that.
Oh, mhm.
We do.
Yes. So
Yep.
what is our equivalent? I don't know that right off the top of my head. It's in a different report.
Just a comment for Stephanie, I really enjoyed having the stats on the work details as far as accreditation visit.
Great, thank you.
It did pop up some questions for me.
Okay, let's hear them.
With the 102 survey responses analyzed, were those responses from faculty or students or?
It's from, we send surveys out to 7 different stakeholder groups that include, candidates that are currently in the program, alumni that have graduated from the program, the teacher advisory committee, the adjuncts, cooperating teachers. We don't do principals anymore. Content faculty. Oh, and then professional school counseling had the same set with the other programs have 5 groups that get sent out to. And so there's both Likert scale questions as well as open-ended. So basically the DE team and the volunteers look through all the responses. We look for any red flags. We look for strengths of the program or opportunities for continuous improvement. And then.
So this is a survey that the DE sends out or the college sends out?
The college sends it out and the responses come to the DE.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's our survey, but it goes out with their list. And then they let us know how many they sent. We watch the return rate on it. If
Return rate approximately. I'm not, I'm just guess.
But I would say, I want to say somewhere between 25 and 50%, because if it doesn't hit at least 25%, then we do a focused interview during the on-site portion. We also do an interview with that particular group if there are any of those red flags that we spot.
Okay. And so you analyze the responses. I'm assuming that Upper Iowa got the results of, were they able to analyze those before you came on board or not?
Nope. Nope, they weren't, but that's a good idea to do. We definitely talk about some of the issues when we're in an interview with the department chairs. A lot of times questions will come from those survey responses and also some in the findings. Like a good example of that is the classroom technology, the integrating technology. That was a comment in some of the surveys from the candidate focus group. And then when we went into classroom visits, that was a question we asked to the current candidates. Tell us about the technology integration that you're being prepared to do. And then they had some similar responses. We're really excited where Upper Iowa is now with that classroom technology. But when we go and do the review, we really try to triangulate. So we try to get 3 different sources, all agreeing and saying the same thing. And the surveys help a lot with that.
Alex and Billy, do you guys send out surveys as well or?
Not any additional ones in preparation for the visit, just what they send us.
With the 29 interviews, was that 29 people that were interviewed or 29 groups that were interviewed or?
It was 29 people that would include, I would guess, 75 to 100 people that we visit with on campus.
Okay. And the 6 classroom visits, to me, that seems low, but I'm not in your world, so I don't know.
It actually, it feels high to me when we're on site because we have about 2 days to get these 30 interviews and 6 classroom visits in. But what we ask the programs to do is to identify what class is towards the beginning of the program. We always meet with the student teachers at the end of the program, and then we also try to get in classes. And we always do a literacy class for sure. And then if there's a combination of secondary students as well as elementary students, we did classroom visits with professional school counseling candidates as well. So we really do get quite a bit of good information during those. And the programs know that if we need to talk to another class, that will be available for the site visit team to do. And so that's one of our things too, is we ask, don't cancel any classes, have all the faculty teach them, and then it's open for us to pop into if we need to do more.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a recommendation for us. Award full approval to Upper Iowa University Educator Preparation Programs for the next review schedule for the 2030-31 academic year.
So moved.
It's been moved by Brooke,
Second.
second by Brian. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. 10:52 now. We'll be back at 11:02. I'm missing Brian, but I'm sure he's coming shortly. All right, we do have the charter school application revision. Who's up for that?
Deborah.
Deborah, okay.
Good morning, President Robbins, Director Snow, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present on the charter school application revision for the school year 24-25. So this month, it is the first day of August, marks my 31st year as an educator. And in that time, every single time I've been involved in great work that achieves results, it has never been accomplished by one person alone, but rather accomplished by a great team of committed individuals with high levels of expertise. And so I'd like to thank the team that is in this room, has been a part of this project, because certainly this is not my project. This is all of ours. The application process built on previous work. As you know, we already had an application, but our goal was to improve it and make it better for the next group of applicants. The goal was to more specifically guide the applicant to articulate all components of how an idea for a charter school becomes a plan for implementation, and how, as readers, we're able to determine an evidence-based, comprehensive, and practical plan to inform our recommendation to the board for approval. And so you'll recognize this slide from last month's National Association of Charter School Authorizers presentation. We had a guest speaker, as you remember, Heather from NACSA, who took us through the entire cycle of all of the components of charter school authorization. We'll use this as a grounding slide in all of our work moving forward, So today we focus on the application process. We know we have work to do in all components, but today's focus is the application. So our goals for the application revision were informed by feedback from last year's applicants and last year's reviewers, as well as an internal review of alignment to our process to nationally recognized principles and standards. The applicants in our feedback session expressed that the application is long, and they are correct. It's essentially a business plan, again, for taking an idea to a concrete plan. However, we are limited or guided by the application components that are listed in code chapter 256E. Did take those application components, we aligned them and made the application more specific and efficient to be more user-friendly for the applicants as they articulate a detailed plan to take their idea to a tangible plan. The increased rigor of the application questions will ensure that our recommendations to the state board in January are based on clear evidence in the application. The application itself has 5 components. Of course, there's a cover sheet like any other application. The application does notify the applicants that the responsibility to provide sufficient evidence to support approval is on the applicant. And Thomas Mays helped us draft that statement. The charter overview component has a great example of making the application more specific. In the previous application, we asked for the purpose of the charter school and had open-ended, write your own purpose. And what we found in analyzing that component was that the applicants had a variety of lengthy narrative around their purpose. And so what we did for this coming application was we made a drop-down. And in that drop-down are each of the 12 stated purposes of charter schools from chapter 256E for the applicants to select from. So that's one example of how we're focusing the application more on the information that's needed. The organizing framework for the remainder of the application is built around the 3 components of work in schools, which are academics, operational, and financial. We'll take those one at a time. The left side of the slide outlines the application components for the academic portion of the application as defined by chapter 256E. A successful application that results in a recommendation to authorize will demonstrate clear alignment of the specific academic program components included in the list to the school's stated purpose, vision, and mission for the specific targeted population. To demonstrate readiness for an approval recommendation, the applicant is expected to clearly detail in each application component their plan, not their wish or their hope, but their plan to deliver a student experience reflected in the vision, mission, and purpose of the proposed school. The operational component of the plan begins with evidence that the charter school is needed in the proposed community. So answering the questions, does the school enhance the offerings in the local school district and non-public educational context by providing a model that currently does not exist? Is the community supportive? This is the foundation of a successful charter school, being able to draw enrollment and thus lead to self-sustainability. The remaining of the operational components include, if you bucketed them, human resources and time. So under human resources, we are required to ask about the expertise and experience of people in the founding group, in the staff, the administration, and the governing board, so that we have a clear description of how all of those human resources components will be organized within the school. Just as a startup business requires expertise in all aspects of opening and running a business, we'll be looking for individuals in all of those groups to have the wide variety of experience needed to upstart, run, and sustain a school. The use of the resource of time is very important, and so we'll be looking at the school calendar and the daily schedule for it to paint a clear picture of the day in the life of the student. Again, focusing on operationalizing time towards that unique student experience. Finally, the financial component probably has had the most revision of all. In last year's application, as you may recall, the budgets all looked very different. It was hard to compare. It was hard to tell how they went from a startup budget to a sustainability budget over the 5-year authorization period. I want to shout out to Dr. Klein for creating a really honestly beautiful spreadsheet. If you're a spreadsheet admirer like I am, this is the spreadsheet to admire. But it provides.
I've heard of a spreadsheet called Beautiful before, but.
It is.
The Mona Lisa.
Right, I know.
It's the Mona Lisa spreadsheet. But it also serves as a guide for applicants to really look at what is their expected student population? How do they expect to generate funds? What do they need to generate to start up, to grow, and to sustain? And so that financial sustainability, it really is the ultimate goal. And you only get that way by being able to afford the things that you want to do with your unique and innovative academic program and your unique and innovative operational procedures. And so the criteria for the recommendation that will come to the board in January will be based on the academic, operational, and financial components. We'll be looking for the alignment of those components to each other and the alignment to the purpose, vision, and mission of the school. We'll be looking for applications that inspire confidence by giving sufficient detail that the school will succeed in opening, operating, and sustaining over their 5-year authorization period. And what we know from our presentation from NACSA last month is that our due diligence in the application process can go a long way to head off the 4 primary reasons that charter schools close in the first year. 1 is low enrollment and the subsequent fiscal distress and failure. 2 is an unapproved or unsuitable facility. 3, ineffective relationships with management organizations. And 4 is improper policy and operational decision-making. So the revised application places the applicant in a position that they are guided through the planning process to be very specific in the details to avoid those major pitfalls. Recognize this graphic from last month's NACSA presentation. It takes us through the process for applications. And just to note, from the schoolhouse to the clipboard is our work as your authorizing agent as the department. When we get to the clipboard, the check yes or no will be the board's decision. But we aim to bring you a very solid recommendation based on clear evidence provided by the applicants. Finally, the timeline. We begin, of course, today with a presentation and a request for your approval for the application. Tomorrow, we will put a link on the website for a notice of intent to apply. If charter schools don't fill out the notice of intent to apply, it's just a simple Google form online. They don't have to fill it out for their application to be considered, but we'd like to have an idea of how many to expect so that we can plan for our review process to give each application adequate time and attention. On August 16th, the application will be released. A week later, we'll host an applicant workshop to answer any questions they may have and review the look-fors in technical assistance for the application. In September and October, we'll host a variety of applicant office hours so they can drop in if they need support. Applications are due, hard deadline November 1. November and December, we'll be reviewing applications and conducting capacity interviews and public forums as required in state code. And in January, we'll bring forth recommendations. And so with that, thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have prior to hopefully approving the application.
Deborah, can you pull up the application document itself?
I will request assistance with that. I close all of my windows before this presentation, so that nothing would get in the way of the presentation. Barbara, can you pull it up? You want me to get out? I can pull that up shortly. Yes.
The computer?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have to get into something.
Isn't it part of sharing? Because if you all see my desktop, I'll be horrified.
Deborah, is it hyperlinked on the last page of the PowerPoint?
Yes, I have the application right here, President.
I knew you would.
That's hilarious.
With the first section. Oh, scrolling. Now he scrolled too far. First section.
Here, you want to look at it here?
Well, I can,
You give her a page.
Which page?
right there, the cover sheet.
Yes.
One thing I found that would be helpful maybe to include in consideration is the year that they're going to start. Last year, we had applications approved with different starting years. And so that would be helpful just to have that either as a drop down or as a fill-in.
Yes, we will make that, we will add that. Thank you.
I have other comments. I don't want to stop anybody from.
You can keep going. It might limit mine because you might ask the same thing I'm gonna ask.
One of the things that kind of concerned me last time was the demonstrated need for the charter school. And it seems like that should be more, in my eyes, I'm just speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for behalf of the board, is that it's kind of in, it's not kind of, it's in section 4. It seems like the need is way down the list of things. And I guess for your consideration, I would move that to section 2 and put that first as far as evidence. And then follow along with vision, mission, purpose, target population, community. I'd also move the target school enrollment from section 1 to section 2. But to me, the evidence of need is primary, and we got kind of hung up on that last year a little bit as far as what is your evidence? Well, we had a public meeting and nobody showed up. No. Is that good evidence?
No.
No. So that'd be my suggestion, is to move that evidence of need from section 4 and make it first thing under section 2. And then I would put the charter school enrollment from section 1 to section 2 after the target population, and put in their charter school enrollment. And everything else was fine through those 2 sections. And by the way, I really appreciate the work that's gone in, very much so.
I agree with your comments, John.
And then in section 3, where it talks about if it's going to be, you can go to section 3. Under 3B, it talks about if it's in person or online or face to face, and then there's a check mark for hybrid. I personally would like to know what what a hybrid looks like. Is it 50-50? Is it 10-90? Or is it 5% to 95%? Just having an estimated hybrid for those, a percent of time online and face to face, just so we have a better handle.
Maybe there could be a place for them to like maybe provide additional information for that,
We can include that. Thank you.
for both, maybe for both of us. Or both of the hybrids. They can maybe expand a little bit more. Right now.
No, you're fine. And then the last section, section 4, if we move evidence into section 2, then obviously we take a. So all that large document, that's the only thing I came up with that would make it easier for me and for more consideration for making those. I do very much appreciate the time and effort that's gone into this, and I think it's going to make our job
Wow.
much easier.
It's a great way to capture a lot of information, a lot of detailed information for us.
And it's standard, so it goes from one application to another.
Which is really nice, yeah.
Did you, is this typical for other states in their charter administration? Because this is a very comprehensive, I mean, if you can get through this thing and answer it in the manner in which we would like it to be answered, it's very extensive. I just wondered what the model looks like across the US that in the states that have adopted charters.
Well, we're moving towards all of our processes for authorization being modeled after nationally recognized principles and standards. And so this was our next step. We already have identified improvements we want to make for next year. And certainly will incorporate the improvements from the board this morning. So it'll be an ongoing process. But this is getting ever closer to those nationally recognized standards.
Which we heard about at our last meeting.
Yes.
Yep. It got a little long for me on our last meeting, so sometimes I checked out mentally and I didn't mean to, so.
Understood.
One of the issues you were trying to address, though, was the lengthy, complicated application. I mean, I appreciate this. I think you want to do a charter school, you should be serious about it and have all this information. But it seems like it's lengthier. It's more comprehensive. That's good. Do we have any user input or that associate, there's a group. Who is that? Help me here, the charter, there's would they opine on it? I mean, not necessarily for this year, but as an evolutionary thing.
Absolutely. And we did solicit feedback from last year's applicants.
Okay.
And so we asked them what went well with the application, what didn't go well, how can we make it better? And so they did talk about the length of it, but they also talked about how they felt like they were writing about the same thing multiple times over and over. And so the reorganization of the application components that are listed in code, we have to have those in the application.
Right.
But we organize them into 3 distinct buckets, and then we put them in an order that should make more sense. So for example, in the academics section, we ask about the academic program, the instructional model, the assessment, the professional development to support educators in learning how to implement the academic program and instructional model, kind of all in the same section in sequence instead of in various places in the application. So we've kind of streamlined them into those buckets. But again, Board Member King, this is basically a business plan. This is, and so.
They ought to have one.
Comprehensive.
They ought to have one.
Yes.
I think for the applicant, it helps them kind of think through and answer questions that they should be thinking about and answering questions and, presenting and, I mean, so if you're doing this and thinking that's long or too cumbersome or that then maybe it's not for you. I don't know, but or maybe you're not paying as much thought into it as we should be.
Yeah, I would echo those same sentiments, Brooke. Just mentioned those. Yeah, it's an extensive application. But I can't think of what I would remove from it.
Yeah.
Agree.
What's not important to include. And, by the way, they're getting a lot of state money for their application, and I guess as board members, if we put our stamp of approval on it, I'd like to feel confident that, yeah, there's a need, they're addressing a need, there's a sound instructional and business model behind it, and
they look poised for success.
Mm-hmm.
and if they haven't thought about some of these
Yeah.
things, then maybe they shouldn't be applying this particular year.
Yeah.
This is Cass, and I just really appreciate that we'll have consistency between all of the applications. So as we review moving forward, it will just be a lot easier to process the information. So this is great.
Thank you.
So the comments made this morning, are we asking that they be revisions to this for the upcoming year?
I would ask that if the board seems agreeable, if not, that's fine.
No, I'm not pushing back. I like the comments. I'm just wondering about the
When
timeline
they do
here.
that.
Our timeline for release is August 16th, so we do have time to.
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me it's August 16th and we don't have time.
It's 12 o'clock noon today.
But if the board were to make a motion to adopt with the revisions discussed throughout this conversation, that would allow us to make the edits and then release in the timeframe before
Okay.
the next board meeting.
Well, if that's the case, I would make that motion.
And I would second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and second to accept the application with suggested revisions. Any further comments?
Do you have enough time to make those revisions?
We do.
Comfortable with that?
We delayed the post. We didn't say that we would post it tomorrow so that we would be able to incorporate board feedback.
And to summarize specifically, the revisions are adding the starting year in section 1, moving the demonstrated need to the top of section 2, and articulating an estimated breakdown of the hybrid model. Those 3 revisions, for the record.
That's what I had.
Yeah. Good. Good to have that on record. All right,
Yeah.
I'll call for the vote. Those in favor of the motion, by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay.
That's great. This is great.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the subcommittee members for all their hard work on this. Oh, wait, no, we met once, didn't we?
It's like, what did we do?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zana.
And I want to see that Mona Lisa spreadsheet.
Yeah, right?
And if that's Mona Lisa spreadsheet, then I really have no desire to go to Italy.
Okay, we have the college aid overview. Welcome. You got you may want to switch chairs.
This one's
Oh.
back a little bit.
Yeah, don't sit there.
I can make it. Let's see. I think my slides should be sharing. Hasn't popped up yet, though.
Steve, have we allowed Todd Brown to share?
So,
There we
Yes.
go.
Thank you.
Perfect. My name is Todd Brown. I'm a section chief with the Bureau of Iowa College Aid. For a little over the past 16 years, I've been involved in the oversight and distribution of our financial aid programs in the state of Iowa. Prior to that, I spent a number of years working in financial aid at the institutional level. So throughout my career thus far, financial aid has been my passion. More recently, I've been tasked with overseeing the team that authorizes post-secondary institutions to do business in the state of Iowa. So the focus of today's presentation is going to be on those two things, the state financial aid programs, and then the functions that go hand in hand with authorizing post-secondary institutions to do business in the state. So this first slide, you'll see a summary of the appropriations, basically state appropriations, for all financial aid programs that we administer that were enacted during the 2024 legislative session, the 24-25 academic year. There's 9 separate distinct scholarship and grant programs that receive state appropriations, and there's 6 different distinct loan repayment and income bonus programs that receive state appropriations. And you'll see the list is sorted by highest appropriation to lowest. The largest funded program that we administer is the Iowa Tuition Grant, which provides need-based grants to over 8,000 Iowa residents who are enrolled at one of the 28 private colleges and universities in this state. Our most recent program is the Workforce Grant and Incentive Program, which takes a pretty dynamic approach to financial aid. First of all, it provides up to 4 full-time grants to students enrolled in high-demand programs at the region universities to help them complete those programs of study. So it addresses affordability in that way. Once those students graduate, it offers them an income bonus if they remain in the state and work in a high-demand job for a year. So it also helps retain graduates in the state. Overall, our state appropriations for fiscal year 25 are just over $106 million. So there's generally 2 categories of financial aid programs that we administer, the first of which that I'm going to talk about are scholarship and grant programs. But at a high level, the basic purpose of scholarship and grant programs are to ensure that any Iowan that chooses to pursue a post-secondary education can afford that education. It's seen as an efficient mechanism to addressing college affordability. It can be used as a lever to help low-income students pay for their college expenses, or it can be used to drive students into programs of study that are aligned with high-demand jobs. The funding sources for the programs that we administered are various. In the last state fiscal year, we administered 2 federally funded grant programs, 9 state-funded scholarship and grant programs, and then 1 privately funded scholarship. The primary eligibility criteria for these programs generally fall into 3 categories. The first is need-based programs, second is merit-based programs, and then the third is other criteria. So generally, to qualify for a need-based program, we'll look at the financial resources of the applicant in the family to make sure that they demonstrate need. And we serve the students that demonstrate the highest levels of financial need for those programs. The majority of our state-funded scholarship and grant programs are based on the financial need of the applicant.
How is the FAFSA application process? Is it near completion now?
So the application is actually open until June 30th, 2025. But if you're wondering about the issues experienced thus far, there have been a lot of them. I mean, the primary impact has been on students and parents for sure, just in getting that application submitted. There have been downstream impacts on states because we get FAFSA data to administer all of our state financial aid programs. So the delay in that application being opened up first, and then the further delay in us getting those applications to review and make eligibility determinations for our Iowa students and parents has delayed our ability to get reports out the door in primarily institutions.
So are we getting caught up, or we still have students in limbo?
So the state has released all of its awarding parameters for the 24-25 academic year. There still are a number of outstanding issues with the FAFSA that remain to be fixed. There are workarounds for the majority of them. The biggest thing that we're still watching is, so when the FAFSA went live, there were a number of issues. So some students, when they experienced those issues, diverted and filled out a paper application. Those paper applications still haven't been processed yet. So those students are still awaiting, basically the application being processed and sent to states as well as institutions. So they don't have a financial aid award letter yet. U.S. Department of Education has indicated they're going to process those in the next 2 weeks, but there's going to be very late awarding happening for some of those students.
Yeah, school starting.
Yes.
3 weeks.
Wow.
And the department continues to work with the U.S. Department of Education to mitigate these issues experienced by students with their form. But can you talk about some of our FAFSA completion efforts? We talked earlier in the board meeting specifically about the transition associate work.
Yep.
But if you could spend a little time on that too.
Yeah, you bet. Our bureau is pretty heavily involved in activities that promote FAFSA completion amongst Iowa residents. One of the primary things we do is provide FAFSA completion reports to each public high school in the state. There's a number of private high schools that also receive those from us. What those reports provide counselors is student level information on which of their college going seniors have submitted a FAFSA, completed a FAFSA, or haven't done anything. So it gives them that data in their hands to advise those students on that critical aspect of the college going process. In the last 6 months, we've worked with partners to help train counselors on completion of the new FAFSA. We've held 25 financial aid and FAFSA completion related events. We host weekly calls with counselors to give them FAFSA completion type updates. And we've hired 21 summer transition associates that are helping students complete the FAFSA across the state.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. So programs based on financial need, just as an example, the workforce grant provided about 3,400 of the most financially needy students enrolled at Iowa's region universities with grants that covered over a quarter of the full-time tuition costs at those institutions. These students had median household income of just over $38,000, which is about half of Iowa's median household income. Merit-based programs generally require the student to achieve a certain grade point average or achieve a certain test score, usually on a standardized test. We don't administer any programs that have merit-based criteria at this point in time. But we do administer a number of programs whose primary eligibility is based on other criteria, such as membership in the Iowa National Guard, aging out of Iowa's foster care system, or enrolling in a program of study that's aligned with a high demand job. We leverage the FAFSA as our primary application for all of our state scholarship and grant programs. And we do that, and this may sound funny, but we do that to keep it simple for the student. That way they only have to complete one application to apply for federal aid, for state aid, and a lot of times institutions use that as their application for institutional aid as well. We're able to receive Iowa resident FAFSA application results on a daily basis through an agreement that we have with the U.S. Department of Education.
But is there some reason why we don't award merit-based scholarships or anything?
We don't have any legislative criteria, in statute that would require a student. Generally, there are federal requirements that we leverage just in terms of satisfactory academic progress. And generally, a student has to maintain a 2.0 GPA and complete 2/3 of the courses they attempt to meet that criteria. So you could call that somewhat of a merit-based criteria, but there's no programs that we administer that explicitly require like a 3.5 GPA in completed college courses. So lastly, All of our scholarship and grant programs are awarded to the student. We don't allocate the funds to the institution to select individuals for those programs. This helps us keep the student at the center of all the decisions that we make regarding eligibility in the application processes for our programs. The second category of financial aid programs that we administer are generally what we call loan repayment and income bonus programs. So these programs come into play after the individual has completed the training necessary to become employed in a specified occupation. They come into play when the individual is, basically they help retain individuals in the state of Iowa and help drive them into high need occupations and high need geographical areas by repaying their federal student loans, providing them directly with income bonuses. The funding types primarily are state appropriations. We do have one program that requires the community to pay a matching contribution back to the state, which is then used to fund further awards in the future. Program types, as the name suggests, there's two. Under loan repayment programs, we repay the federal student loans on an annual basis for individuals that are completing their employment obligation for the state of Iowa. Under the Rural Iowa Veterinarian Loan Repayment Program, the most recent cohort of recipients had over $100,000 in federal student loan debt. And as those individuals work full-time in veterinary shortage areas in the state will effectively repay $60,000 against that outstanding loan balance. Income bonus programs, those work similarly to loan repayment programs, except that instead of repaying outstanding federal student loans, we pay the individual directly with an income bonus. These types of programs can cast a much broader net to recruit individuals since they don't rely on the individual having outstanding federal student loans. Under the Healthcare Award Program, advanced registered nurses, nurse educators, registered nurses, and physician assistants can qualify for an annual $6,000 income bonus if they work in rural Iowa or teach nurse education at an eligible Iowa college and university. And for a lot of these individuals coming right out of their education program, that can be as high as 10% of their average salary. So just to provide a scale of the operation, and this data is based on fiscal year 23, since we don't have final fiscal year 24 data yet. In fiscal year 23, we processed about 140,000 financial aid applications. We made just under 29,500 awards. We distributed about 109 million in financial aid to Iowans. The cost of the operation is a little over $1 million. So it's about 1% of the funding that we manage. And that cost is partially offset by the $591,000 that we get in our state appropriated administrative line item. So another function that is critical in the higher education landscape in the state of Iowa are our post-secondary registration duties. Through these functions, we authorize just under 300 post-secondary institutions to do business in the state and offer education programs to Iowans. We're part of what's known as the Higher Education Regulatory Triad. The members of the triad are the U.S. Department of Education, whose primary responsibility is oversight of the institutions and approval of those institutions to participate in federal student aid programs. States are also part of the triad, and our primary responsibility is consumer protection. Creditors are the third leg of the triad, and their primary responsibility is to ensure academic quality, both at the institution level and at the program level. So our staff work to ensure that every post-secondary institution that's approved to do business in the state of Iowa affords our Iowa residents the consumer protections that are required in law. Those consumer protections include ensuring that courses, the costs, and refund policies are clearly disclosed. They require the institution to have certain student-friendly policies, and in some instances, they require the institution to have a bond. In addition to those things, our staff receive and mediate student complaints from Iowa residents who are enrolled across the nation. The cost of this operation is about $500,000. And that cost is partially offset by fees paid directly by the institutions who are authorized to do business in the state. So to briefly summarize all of this, our primary operations are focused on college affordability, incenting Iowans to remain in the state, work in high demand jobs and in high need areas, and protecting students who pursue post-secondary education. Happy to answer questions.
Questions for Todd?
So in fiscal 23, awards actually made were like almost 109 million, like you talked about. And then in fiscal 25, are we proposing to fund like 3 million less? Or am I misreading this?
So the number of awards should stay the same. So some of our programs through different funding sources increase the amount that we can obligate and spend through the program.
Okay.
One primary area is that program that receives matching contributions from communities. Basically, it
They go up or down.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is all about regulating what's made available to help people pay, right? Is there any component of this? You know, you read in the media there that addresses what gets charged. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to talk politics here. I'm trying to get to the need goes up when the cost rises. And sometimes like the cost of living for this sector of the economy is different than the post-secondary education. And usually it's less. Is there, who addresses that? Or is that just all school by school?
So schools, the institution's boards set their tuition rates.
Okay. There's nobody on that side of it saying you have to come in at 3% inflation rate or something instead of it being 7%, for example.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Most of the public institutions get general fund appropriations. So that is, of course, a mechanism that they use to set their tuition policy.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Anything else for Todd?
And just to provide some framing, a couple of board meetings ago, we had the conversation about all the college access and community engagement programs that Christina Sabui led, and then wanted to make sure that you had the full picture. The Bureau of Iowa College Aid's important work in financial aid programs and in state authorization responsibility. So appreciate providing that in their work and continued partnership with the Iowa College Aid Commission.
Yeah, great information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is State Board of Education Subcommittee appointments. Julie will appoint various people to various positions. Is this going to come back to the board for full approval? This consent agenda next month.
Yep, that's Thomas's recommendation.
So I'm going to appoint and then we will approve next month. So the appointment for the Community College Subcommittee is Cassandra Halls as chair and Cindy Dietz as a member. For Non-Public Schools Subcommittee, we have Brian Kane as chair and Mary Meisterling as a member. PBS representative is Brooke Axiotis. Period. Awesome. So you are appointed pending approval at next month. All right. Next item on the agenda is board member.
Thank you.
Board member representation at fall conferences, ASB and NACSA. Mary and I were talking this morning that the the sessions are not outlined or the keynote speakers are not outlined yet for either organization. You know, I'm interested in attending NASB or NACSA, but I'm not going to commit till I see.
Yeah.
I didn't know if anybody else was interested in attending. Brooke, Brian, Cass.
When do we have to know by?
Are there registration deadlines on the website?
Just open.
So maybe by like, I don't know.
Anyway, NASB is October 23rd to the 25th. That's in Louisville.
I don't know, do you know when the registration deadline is?
Mhm.
It is September.
Michael's looking it up right now.
Max is October 21st to 24th in Houston. That sounds, if I remember right, we have funds for 2 people.
So one to go to each. To each. Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what?
I think we can do up to 2 each.
Oh, 2 each. Okay.
The 4 total.
4 total.
Does anyone have a particular preference on one or the other, or you just waiting? So you said you'd be okay with either or are you?
I'd be okay with either one, but I want to see
It's okay.
the keynoters, the session.
Yeah, I just didn't know if anyone had a particular preference on which one.
We know the specific dates of the NACSA one.
Yeah, it's October 21st to the 24th in Houston.
And then
So we're-
NASB, early registration, which is at a reduced rate, closes September 13th.
6 weeks.
See, when's our next board meeting?
Like then,
I think it's the.
yeah, 12th and
11,
13th, right?
12 or
Something like that. Yeah,
12,
Thursday.
13.
Oh, do we know where our next board meeting is gonna?
Yes, I'll get that in the director's report. I'm happy to provide that at the end of the conversation.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. So Mary, you're happy to go to either one?
Yeah. Okay. Once I see who's speaking with the session so far.
I would be limited in attending the NASB as an opportunity, but I agree with John in seeing the agenda, so.
So we will ask them for draft agendas and share those draft agendas via email if they're able to provide them to us.
Okay.
Sounds good. Do you know when did you say when the deadline for NACSA?
Looking.
Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry.
I haven't found it yet. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're fine.
I think Deborah's looking as well. But so we'll follow up with draft agendas if we're able to attain them, and then do you want to finalize at the next board meeting?
We can officially finalize it at the next board meeting. We have 4 people that want to go. I'm not sure if we do or not.
I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, we have 6 board members and 4 spots, so.
I can't go. So.
To either?
No. It's a horrible time.
I likely can't. Can't say no for sure.
Okay.
October's a really busy month. Halloween and all.
And then board member Halls, you indicated that you were interested in NASB in particular.
That would be the only one I'd be able to do. I wouldn't be able to do the other.
And President Robbins and board member Meisterling, you were interested in either depending on the agendas. Follow up with Cindy as well.
Okay.
Are you interested in going? I think NASB has like they have like a whole student member one, I think, so.
If there's another spot, if there's one open, I'll go.
Okay.
Every day.
I think that, yeah, they used to have the student members used to come together and yeah. I think they might have student members on their board too, so.
Thank you, Michael. We'll get that for you too.
All right, and you're gonna follow up with
Yeah.
location.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we are working to host our next regionally based meeting in Dubuque, specifically to profile two of our top priorities around narrowing and closing achievement gaps. And specifically around school improvement work, as well as work to reduce chronic absenteeism. That superintendent serves on that chronic absenteeism task force as well. And then we are also working to profile their science of reading, evidence-based reading instruction work to drive ELA achievement gains. So we'll focus in those two main areas and plan for additional information about specific locations and travel in the coming weeks.
Awesome.
Cool.
You won't have to
Thanks.
travel. Good for you.
Maybe 8 minutes this time.
Yeah,
3 hours.
there you go.
All right, the last item on the agenda is board reports. Do you have anything, Chris?
I don't.
Not me. Other than we off to a good start, thanks to staff on the non-public school advisory committee organization. Thanks for Mary to agreeing to serve.
Just a couple of things. Found out that I'm on the Iowa Centennial Foundation Memorial Committee. Did you serve on
I did. Have fun.
that?
It was fine. It was just like
I need to curb that enthusiasm.
it was like a meeting, like maybe like, I don't know. We hadn't had one in a while because I think because of COVID or whatever, but
We
yeah.
haven't had one since 2017, I think.
Yeah. So I think I did it like once or twice. Yeah. It was great.
So anyway, basically it's short meetings.
Yeah.
And they determine scholarship recipients or the structure. They allow for the scholarships based on the interest of the invested funds, so they don't touch the principal, it's just the invested. And this year's about $8,600 plus of funds to give out. They award 3 $1,500 scholarships and 4 $1,000 scholarships. So then they're going to have an award presentation with Governor Reynolds. So that was the gist of that. And then the other thing I had for board members is that if you have ideas or topics for future board work sessions, would be charter school authorization, artificial intelligence, mental health, STEAM, anything you'd like to learn more about, talk to us. It would be helpful.
I guess shifting to our agenda on a go forward basis, would we have a regular line item now for these committees to report to the meeting, or is it going to be consent agenda or a combination?
It's a good question. In the past, the only report we really had was from the community colleges, and that was
Right.
kind of Cassandra incorporating that into her board report.
I think it should be more formal than just
Like
that.
actually on the agenda,
I think
like
it should be on the,
committee reports or like specific, like.
well, I mean, I'm asking you, but
Yeah.
if I was asked, I would say, yeah, it should be now that it's our committee, not a
Yeah.
corollary advisory board.
Right. And
Are you
so
guys meeting every?
4 times a year.
So maybe
It
not.
would be
every
every
meeting.
meeting,
it'd be
Okay.
Quarterly report.
yeah. Unless we.
So like after you guys meet, maybe you could report or something?
Happy to.
I would write that report and present that. Is that correct?
And submit it.
I guess-
Sounds great.
Discussion.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I mean,
It'd be,
I just want there to be a connection so that,
Right.
you know, it shows up.
oh,
People should know what the
Exactly.
committees are doing. Yeah.
and do you have your meeting schedule set yet?
I think we do for the first year, right? October 8th, maybe was the,
Yeah.
We can put that as,
In like November.
if it works for the board, we can put that as a standing agenda item and we can remove
Tuesday of every month.
sorry.
it's not applicable.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So if they haven't met, then they would have a report. Okay.
We'll check in case there's anything in the interim that's,
We have our meetings for 24, 25,
Yeah.
which were what they were scheduled.
Oh.
And they don't butt up to our meeting yet.
Okay, Do they coincide at all with the community college or you, I'm assuming you guys could be on different schedules.
I think they're on.
Cassandra, do you have your meetings for?
We had a proposed listing, but we needed to coordinate that with our group. So, and confirm that those dates would work.
Are you guys meeting 4 times a year too?
I think so. We haven't, our first meeting isn't until November.
Your first meeting, right?
October 8th. October 8th, December 10, February 11, May 13. That's that group had already scheduled that. So
Sure.
we didn't want to depart from that for the
Makes sense,
first.
yeah.
So may we get it mapped onto the draft agendas to have the immediate board meeting after the quarterly meetings of both groups, a report out. And then in the interim, if board member Halls or board member Kane has an update, we can add that too.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Sounds
Thank
good. Anything else? It's early afternoon. If not, I think the agenda is complete and we are adjourned.